welcome everybody to another episode of Chris and Dave's Reality Cast. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Phelps, and my co-host and very good friend is Mr. Dave Horrocks.
Hello there, Chris, and hello to the listeners out there. I tell you what, Chris Phelps, the Bachelor here, old Matt Jame, has to be fucking Michael Phelps with the amount of stamina he requires for these Fantasy Suites episodes. What did you make to how this one unfolded today?
Well, I'll be honest with you, and I'm going to put my cards right on the table, Dave, and I know we've both talked about a little bit of fatigue with the show. I think, and I know the pandemic has been an absolute mess because, and you know, nobody could have planned this for the Bachelorette, Claire's Bachelorette, and then obviously with this. But I think they've got to take a real hard look at themselves, the producer of The Bachelor, and try and film it pretty much close to when it comes out on the TV, because I don't fucking care anymore, Dave. The amount of leaks that, and not leaks that I've gone looking for, the amount of things that we know has happened, I've lost complete interest in what's going on. And I don't mean that. I'm watching it, and I always watch it. I love talking to you about it. That's one of the main reasons we watch it, because if it wasn't for me and you doing the podcast, I'd probably scan over a lot of the episode. I wouldn't be so interested, but I've just lost any bit of enthusiasm. I'm so glad we got 2 episodes left, because ultimately everything that's happened with Chris Harrison, with Rachel, we know what's going to happen. We know who's going to win pretty much now. We know why Chris Harrison was being so fucking defensive with his absolute shit show of a fucking speech. I just think it's fucking rubbish now, Dave. It's absolutely fizzled out. It's like I've bought a shit firework from one of them cheapo shops, and just as I've lit it, it's fizzled out before it's gone bang. But you don't go back to it just in case you burn your fingers off, Dave.
I'm going to keep running with the firework analogy here. So, have you ever done indoor fireworks?
No.
Oh, fuck me, Chris, they are the worst. I'll see if I can find some YouTube clips or something on indoor fireworks. So I remember years and years ago, I can't remember the reasons why, but when I was a kid, we couldn't go outside for whatever reason it was. So it couldn't have been the weather, because, it's fucking November 5th, isn't it? So it's always going to be cold, dark, and dingy. But yeah, we ended up with the fireworks inside. Chris, they are horrendous. And I remember one in particular, which just looked like a massive shit. You basically lit it, and it just curled out like a fucking dump. It's horrendous. I'm going to try and search these things out on YouTube. But yeah, I agree, and I think you're possibly where I was last week, and I've carried on that. I've sort of plateaued off. I don't think I don't think I've got any more disillusioned with the show than where I was last week, but certainly it hasn't improved at all. Just the manipulation of the producers in terms of what we're seeing, just the acting that we're seeing as well, just kind of going through the motions, playing the game. It's just all very strange. And to see Chris Harrison right at the top of the show does nothing to elevate my mood about how, I'm going to start falling in love with this show again. I just think it's so problematic having him on screen. And I don't know, we were laughing on our VHS Strikes Back podcast, weren't we? Because some of your Christopher Lambert impressions do come off a little bit like the child catcher. What? Go on, do it. You did a brilliant one. When I was editing it, you were like, "Come with me, my pretties," or something like that.
I'm under pressure now. Chitty chitty bang bang. I'm under pressure.
Yeah.
I won't be able to do it now. It's something like, "Come with me, my little pretties," or something like that. He may have gone on holiday to Eastern Europe at that one day, but something like that.
So I was watching this, and I've got Chris Harrison on my screen there, and he's rubbing his hands, and he just looks so grubby and seedy. I don't know if you noticed that. He's talking about the fantasy suites, and he's rubbing his greasy little palms there, and I just find it distasteful and just seedy, and he just reminded me in that moment of the child catcher. So Chris Harrison explains the rules of the fantasy suites, doesn't he? And the fact that the cameras go off, and anything goes. And then we cut to Matt, And Matt is talking about, where they are in the process. He chose interesting words. He talks about going in deep before he's gone on any of these. But Chris, in this weird situations where basically the Bachelor is kind of expected. Well, I don't know, is he expected to? But the implication is that he's going to bang the remaining three contestants. That seems to be where all of this is going.
Yeah.
From what we've seen on previous seasons and what people have said after the show as well, I think that's a fair assumption. What did you make to not just this conversation that Matt has with his dad, but the fact that the producers choose to prioritise showing this conversation over, say, more moments with the girls?
I think it was the wrong conversation, if I'm being honest. I mean, what I wanted to just say just before that was, why, Dave, in this show, when they have an envelope and they pick who's going to go on the date with Matt, why does the person who picks the envelope never get picked? Because they've been told to go and fucking read it. Exactly. You've got 3 of them left, and it was never more apparent. And I think it was Brie read them out, and Brie gets the thing, and I'm thinking, well, she's not going to say, well, Brie, gather your belongings, you're going on a date with Matt. And no, it was Michelle. And I'm like, fuck off. And I will say, Sam's did say to tell people on the show that she's fucking bored of it. She thinks Matt has got no personality. It's fucking bobbing. She's gone right off it, Dave. And she's not even been listening to us. She's not up to date. So I can't even say we've influenced her decision on this. But anyway, that's what I always wanted to get off my chest, Dave, because it's fucking stupid. But the conversation with Matt's dad come out of this really bad because he went, your mum left me, and he went, she had good reason. You cheated on her. And I'm like, oh, Matt's dad, why have you said that? And it was really, like, I saw Matt's social media stuff, and he was saying, like, it was really difficult for me to watch it and then know that everyone else is going to watch this conversation. But how does that help him decide on a future wife? It only shows him that his dad's infidelity made him more comfortable with his mum, because he never really mentioned his dad at the start. It was all about his mum, wasn't it? And being in a mixed race relationship and how he had to grow up and all the problems. And obviously we didn't know we were going to get the Chris Harrison incident and Rachel. I mean, Rachel, it was Rachel first, sorry. And then obviously Chris Harrison absolutely destroyed his own career. But he brought his dad in, and it just felt like a character assassination. It didn't help me look more. All I saw that Matt was a better bloke than his dad, and that doesn't take a lot, Dave, does it really? Which is sad. It was nice that they had that recollection and reconciliation. There was a bit of crying. His dad did apologize, but his dad was proper hard faced on him, on it for ages. It was as if he wasn't bothered that he cheated on his mum. But it felt out of place for The Bachelor, if I'm being honest.
It felt like a conversation that we're watching a so-called reality TV dating show, and it looked like a conversation that could have happened at any point in the last 25, 30 years.
Yeah.
Maybe not 30, he's probably not ready to have that conversation when he's a toddler. But certainly since he's been an adult, so let's say the last 10 years, any point they could have had this conversation. And I just think it was manipulated for them to have this conversation now. Like you, I was like, you know what? I don't understand how this conversation helps Matt at all. Move forward. He's down to the final 3 girls, so he gives us this line about, he kind of needs to know from his dad so he can move forward with himself because he's got all this emotional baggage. Honestly, Chris, I just think they're trying to show this to us, to play up. This is the Matt Jame, the first Black Bachelor, and basically they're just showing us, look, his dad, who is a guy of colour, was cheating, and he's just playing up to the stereotype. I think that's why the producers are showing it. It felt like a very, very private conversation, which I didn't feel comfortable being part of.
Me too.
And I just, again, so I said, my disdain for the show has kind of plateaued out a little bit. But actually, just talking this through now, I'm just thinking, has it? Maybe, is this just them sinking to another level? I don't think it helps Matt at all. The other thing that doesn't really ring true, how many kind of like real deep-seated family problems, Chris, do you know that are resolved within? Let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say this was a 1 hour conversation. And the reason I'll put it at about an hour, you could see like the lighting was roughly the same. It's not like they started this conversation in the morning and then finished it at night. So it was all resolved, wasn't it? These deep traumatic problems that Matt's had, it's all been just resolved, and they have a big hug at the end. There's a few tears, and it's just nothing seems authentic about it. It just seems. I'm not saying that they didn't get some benefit out of that. I'm sure it was uncomfortable. It feels to me like there's another hand in this. The producers manipulating the situation, just again to get a bit juicy TV.
No, I agree. Look. I think one of the reasons why we're both probably doubting this, and probably everybody watching, because it's probably the only time in this whole series you've actually had an honest conversation between two people. Because everything else has been fucking false bullshit. And let's be honest, Dave, the whole thing is convoluted, and Matt is silly to have put his dad in that situation, or his dad, we don't know the context of it. His dad may have said, look, I'm happy to come on, fire whatever you want at me. But he's a big mister. And I felt uncomfortable watching it. I was like, yeah, great. They've all settled it. Dave, you, me, everybody listening, there is always family scars. They don't fucking heal. You might agree to disagree. You might have to just be the bigger person. We've all had to do that. You can't just get rid of him like that, can you? They can tell that narrative all they want. That is always going to be in the background. Family stuff is just something like you carry all your life, and it's how far you want to keep it, within you and make it consume you. That's what happens, sadly, and that's just human nature. But yeah, very strange. And it may be that it was just because it was so real, we're not used to it because we get all this fucking phony bullshit. However, Dave, I do want to talk about Michelle. So I thought nailed on Michelle was the one to go last week. I mentioned it, didn't I? And then obviously she isn't, and she goes on the first date. Now, again, Matt Jame, how many times does he say, I think I'm falling for you? It's just like, why can't you tell one of them that you love him, or can you not tell all three of them that you love him? He just doesn't convince me. When the VT comes on, and Michelle's basically said she loves him, and she wants that reciprocation off him, and he gets nothing again. But he's got the old chest out, he's got the pythons on show and everything. He's a fine specimen of a man. But the whole pretense of it again, and I will say, Dave, one person out of the three got the better date, and it wasn't Michelle and it wasn't Brie again. It's absolutely been laid on this again. I mean, Brie got sold down the river, a fucking camping trip. Jesus. It's fucking terrible. Like, you can see where the money's gone. It's just stupid.
Yeah, I mean, Michelle and Matt, they have this kind of weird, this Dutch Pennsylvania Dutch spa. I can't remember which, and you've got fucking putting your feet in porridge and stuff, and then bathing yourself in milk. It didn't look like, it was that much fun. But I don't know. Did Matt say he was falling? What I recall of it, Chris, is he said, so all the girls basically profess their love tonight, don't they?
Yeah.
Which I guess at this stage in proceedings they kind of have to. But when Michelle says, she loves him, Matt says absolutely nothing and then just leans in for a kiss.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's as if it's his coping strategy to try and avoid any kind of conversation. That's he's like, I need to tone this down a little bit now, and I don't actually want to respond. And yeah, certainly with Michelle, he just leans in for a kiss there. When they get the old fantasy suite card, they're both quite keen to take it. And again, the seediness, the grubbiness of this show, Chris, it's the way they make sure that we get, Matt's just closing the door. They film them right into the bedroom and then you've just got, Matt closing the door. It's just, I don't know, it just feels dirty to me. Chris, we watched Too Hot to Handle. At least that's kind of, it admits what it is. Here you've got one dude, his harem's been shrunk down to 3 now. He's going to bang 3 chicks, and then he's going to pick the one he likes the most out of the 3. And Matt even says, after this date with Michelle, that the bar is set pretty high. So I just, again, I might get a bit of hate for this, actually, because I know this is just The Bachelor and this is what is done. I just, personally, Chris, I don't like it.
No, I'm with you on that. And I've got another, this is a serious question, which again was pointed out by my wife, Dave. Why the fuck, when they go on these dates, does nobody eat any food? I'm not happy. I'm looking at that food and that thinking, it looks pretty tasty. The wine level never ever changes, Dave. I don't know if you noticed that over the conversation, but it doesn't change. Now, someone who's done the extra stuff, and if you're in a bar scene or a cafe scene or somewhere where you've got an open glass, they'll give you fake like beer, so it's like orange juice, apple juice, or whatever it is. Something used to be like gravy, and it's fucking minging. But they would give you certain things, and you have to do that scene 6 or 7 times. You've got to try and do exactly this. You do it once, and once you've done it once, they take you in the background. You have to do it. You'll watch it on TV, and you're like, fucking rubbish. You can't even see what I'm doing, but you are absolutely concentrating on what you're doing. And I've had to stand there with a fake bottle of beer on Coronation Street for literally an hour, not drinking it while we kept doing the same scene. And I'm right behind the 2 actors. And that's what it's like watching this. Is like the glasses, the continuity. It's like, why can't you just have them having a bit of food, talking? It's not genuine. Yeah. It just isn't.
I'm going to sound like a broken record now. Of all the reality TV shows we've watched, this is the fakest of the lot. Yeah. And I guess, you kind of see these people and they have their social media careers. So you think, well, there has to be some kind of element of truth in it. But it's a very small percentage, I think.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah. Just like you say, if you sat having dinner, you're not eating anything, you're not drinking anything, you're just saying your lines, and again, maybe they are authentic lines, but I felt, Chris, the acting in this was really bad. I just felt like everything that was being said was like an amateur dramatics performance. The way, I really like this time, and I've loved being with you. I could really get used to this, and that cadence, that rhythm to the voice, no one actually talks like that.
No,
unless you're on camera and playing to the camera. It's just, Chris, I realise we've probably got a lot of people in the audience, listeners out there, who are like, I fucking love this, you douchebag. Stop shitting on my show. But, I think we have to be true to ourselves, don't we? And just, I don't know if I'm being kind of influenced by my own thoughts about the shit show in and around The Bachelor. This should have been a quite historic season for all the right reasons, and it's ended up being for all the wrong reasons. I think the show really needs to have a good look at itself about what it is, about things like diversity, about systemic racism, things like that. And just, I think if they do pause, rather than just going straight into Katie's Bachelorette season, then maybe we'll come back and we'll enjoy it a lot more. But I have to say, it's just, I can't really recall a great deal out of tonight's episode that I actually really enjoyed, and I felt I was watching something real as opposed to something that's just manipulated and fake.
Yeah, I agree with that, because I think if you remember back to Rachel's date with Matt, and she got the full shoes, because I got them wrong, obviously, saying they were Jimmy Choos and they're actually Louboutins, aren't they? So I know now, people, because Sam's got her eye on a pair, and it's like, that's not happening. But what I would say is, Paul Bree goes next on a date. She ends up going on a camping trip where again, she's had Rachel's got all these pairs of shoes, clothes, all this amazing stuff, probably thousands of pounds or thousands of dollars spent on it. And then Brie gets a short straw. And again, this whole series has been steered around Rachel becoming his girlfriend, fiance, whatever. Fucking Brie's got a shit in a bucket in a field, Dave. Fucking Rachel's not had to do that. It's fucking nonsense, this show. It really is.
It was a little bit for the cameras again, though, wasn't it?
Oh, of course it was.
For a moment, Brie thought that, this was it. This was the fancy date, and she was going to be in a tent. And I was thinking, she's been properly shafted. Again, we all feel, we're all pretty sure that Rachel's won anyway, and the further we get in, the more it looks like that. But they both agree they're not very outdoorsy. To me, I wasn't sure what exactly the footwear both of them were wearing, but they didn't quite look. They didn't fit into like walking in the outdoors and whatever. It just didn't seem right to me, and they both looked fairly uncomfortable. Not very sure-footed as they were walking through the woodland there. And but Chris, they can manage to build a perfect campfire to roast marshmallows on. Did you see that campfire? It was fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
That was Bear Grylls level of campfire. That amazing how they could do that and not be very outdoorsy.
Especially with 2 sticks, Dave. It took them about fucking 3 weeks to get to that thing. It's just a joke.
Just light this fire. It's really fucking easy. Have you ever actually tried to create fire without any actual proper tools and stuff?
I have, Dave.
It's fucking hard.
It's fucking difficult. Getting that spark and the flint and all that stuff, it is difficult. And what I would say is Brie, again, she's shown an undying love for Matt. I don't expect him to say he loves her if he doesn't, but it's the way it's all played out. And I'll be honest with you, Dave, we go on to the next. So Brie gets shafted, basically, and then we get on to Rachel. Now, fucking Rachel, I tell you what.
Do you intend to?
Go on.
Brie gets shafted. I don't.
Yeah, no.
Did you mean to say that?
No, not figuratively. Well, we don't know about that. Maybe she did, but I don't know. But what I would say is Rachel, obviously, we know now, in hindsight, it's a wonderful thing. We know exactly what's happened. Matt has a different, context on her as a person. I think they've split up, not because of her being a fucking racist, Dave, which he quite rightly deserved to split up with her from, but because she's a fucking spoilt little brat who's got a slapped arse face. And this was never more apparent in her date. We get the fake crying, where eventually we got tears, but the fake crying about, he's been with 2 other women. Hello, you spent 8 weeks on a fucking show where women go on dates with him and snog him and hug him and do whatever they want with him. And now that you're in the last 3, you have a real problem. Don't buy it for a minute. And her whole attitude and just the way she is was very childish, very spoiled. And I think Matt, if he's got anything about him, as long as he's not fucking acting like the doormat that he is, because he's devoid of any emotion, really. I think he's seen her for what he is and gone, you know what? You're just a spoiled brat who needs to grow up. I don't want to be with you anyway. And then all this stuff's come out and he's like, I'm so glad I dodged that bullet, because I'm hoping they're not together, because she is not a nice person, Dave.
So we're going to see this one a bit differently, I think. Actually, I agree with you about the... I'm not going to say she's a spoiled little brat. She might be, but she definitely acts younger than the other 2. The other 2 just seem to carry themselves with a bit more maturity than she does. But when... It wasn't just the crying, right? So when Melissa had gone for the date and when Brie had gone for the date, she was visibly not happy. A little bit like Brandon, actually. When on Tasha's second half of the season, you could see, he's not happy. And I don't think Claire looked particularly... Claire, fucking hell. Rachel looked happy. And I was thinking, well, that actually looks to me like a real kind of emotion. That looks to me like someone who does have some feelings for this guy, whether they're misplaced or not, does have some feelings. And then she's actually playing through in her mind when they're going out, for dates and whatever, getting dressed up, going on a hot air balloon, that's just like a date. When you're faced, if you have genuine feelings for someone, and you think of him ploughing another woman, I think that's gonna make you pretty upset. The performances of Melissa and
Michelle.
Brie, fucking Michelle, the performances of Michelle and Brie were pretty good. And in isolation, I can kind of buy it. But did you not think they were too cool for school when the other girls were going off for their fantasy suite dates? You not think they were just a bit too chilled about it? They're saying, Matt, I'm so in love with you. And they're just completely fine that he's going off on these fancy dates. I mean, Melissa should be in the worst position, shouldn't she? She'd be like, well, I know what that fucking date entails, and, he's got two more to go.
Well, he's got 3, Dave, because you keep calling Michelle Melissa, unless there's another contestant I don't know about. But,
Bell end.
No, but it's muscle memory. They've done this for so long. And you're right, Michelle should be the one. She's got the undying love thing that she thinks. And then he goes on 2 dates. Yeah, you're right. As in human nature, in normal human behaviour, if you've got 2 women or 2 men on the go at one time, Dave, and you're emotionally involved in, or whatever, it happens, then fair enough. If you're if someone's having an affair and the person you're having the affair with is saying, well, why are you still with that person? I want you with me, and they're gutted that you're going back to that person or whatever. Fair enough, but this is a show that is built on people cheating, basically. The Bachelor or Bachelorette as basically the trip of their life where they can just cop off and go on meals with different people and explore 30 people if they're compatible with them. And then at the end, they decide. I think the last 2, it's always hard, the last 2, because that is a hell of an episode, that. But when we watch like Labour of Love and stuff like that, they're never together. Never, it's like, oh, I can't wait. Oh, you're going to be a great dad, Labour to Love. No, not. I mean, you could see a mile off it when she picked that Kristen picked that guy. They were never going to be together. And I think this now, because we've got hindsight, we know what's going on. Everything's being leaked. It's just bullshit, innit? It's all just bullshit. And it is though, Dave, innit? If me and you were vying for the same girl, we were both single, go back bloody 20 odd years or whatever for me, and we're both single, and you're vying for that girl, and you're like, well, why would you want to go out with him? It wouldn't make any sense, would it, at all, to let the girl you're with go out with someone else just to test the water. But
yeah, but I'm sort of thinking back. I can't remember exactly what the message was, but remember when I had a few shots fired across the bow a couple of months ago, because I was I can't remember exactly. It was on the subject of cheating, and I think the basic message was, because it's on The Bachelor, it's okay because everyone knows, so it's not really cheating. And I remember at the time I was thinking, okay, I can kind of see that point of view, but it's in that ballpark, isn't it? Surely,
yeah,
especially at this point when you're getting intimate with 3 different people. All right, if you don't want to put a cheating word on it, it in my mind it's still just quite wrong. If we're to believe it's this. This romantic journey that this couple whoever it's going to be at the end have been on, it just doesn't compute with me, Chris. It feels like cheating.
Yeah.
I know everyone knows what the rules are going into this, so everyone signs up for it, full disclosure, knowing what it's all about. But it just all feels a bit wrong. I do have to say, it was, again, they're playing on the emotional notes, aren't they? Because we got the clay making, the ghost type date, don't we?
Hell, yeah.
You just need a bit, oh my love.
Yeah. Where's Whoopi Goldberg?
You're not going to beat Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore on that, are you?
Dave, that was me, wasn't it, in my heyday? So no, you can't.
Yeah. As I said, I don't remember Jennifer Grey in that movie.
Yeah, fuck you, Dave. Right, so after the pathetic fake kiss between Matt and Rachel, and they've both got the clay on them, Dave, after he's had to reassure her for the millionth time this series. We then get the rose ceremony, and I'll be honest with you, I was shocked he picked Michelle. I thought Michelle was a goner in the last one. As I said, I thought he was going to pick Brie and Rachel, but he didn't. He picked Michelle and Rachel. And it plays into the leaks, everything. But I don't know about you, Dave. I was very shocked by that.
I don't think I was. I thought on the day Michelle showed a little bit more, and I thought Matt seemed more open to Michelle than he did with Brie. Just felt a little bit like going through the motions with Brie. I just didn't see the same level of chemistry there. So no, completely the decision. I thought it was completely telegraphed. But I mean, it's all a little bit immaterial anyway, isn't it? Because it's so fucking obvious that Rachel's going to win. Because like you say, not only is she always gets the best dates all the time, right? Matt actually says to her that he's falling in love with her. He hasn't said that to the other two. He just does the old, I'm going to say nothing and lean in for a kiss. But not only that, they get the fucking fireworks, Chris.
No, on the bed.
Yeah, so for miles around, certainly the other two girls, you've got the whole fireworks going off. I don't know, is that like a kind of thing for sex? Is that like the other girls are thinking, right, oh, that was the end then.
Could be, yeah, euphemism, yeah, it could be.
Yeah. So again, I think that probably takes away from the enjoyment a little bit, doesn't it? The fact that it's so telegraphed that he's going to end up with Rachel at the end. I think it just is what it is. I do think they all look stunning in their black dresses. I have to say, it looked like they were going to a posh funeral potentially. Don't quite understand why it was all black dresses, but yeah. So and we see a bit of a clip for next week. It does look like it's going to get quite emotional. Don't quite know what's going on there, but yeah. So any other thoughts on this episode, Chris?
No, I'm actually going to leave my Oscar-winning shock when next week he picks Rachel, Dave. I'm going to leave that to next week. I'm going all thespian next week, darling. I'm going to be fully ready for next week and be absolutely, it's just going to be one of the things I'm like, oh my God, I don't believe it, because we all know it's happening. We all know it's a load of bollocks. And yeah,
you know
I'm
what?
just out now, Dave. Unfortunately, I'm out.
I was watching this thing on YouTube with Tim Roth, and he was just talking about all of the different movies that he'd been in, and I can't remember what movie it was, but he was up for some kind of award. This was fairly early in his career, and so he's there at the Oscars or whichever awards it was, and Sam Jackson's in front of him, and Sam Jackson says, "Look, when you don't win it, just go, motherfucker." And he didn't do it, and Tim Roth said, that's one of my big regrets. I should have done that, but ultimately there's only Sam Jackson who can get away with that. So he was kind of okay with it. But yeah, so when Rachel comes, when we find out that Rachel's going to be the winner next week, I'm just going to lay out a big motherfucker.
It's so obvious, isn't it, Dave? And you know what, Dave? We've done this. I love talking about reality stuff. It's my bag. I absolutely love it. But when this is just took a turn I didn't think with The Bachelor when we started this second. This is a second series for us, really, isn't it? Because of the Claire Bachelorette and everything. But we have started, guys. Which we did start our Patreon, didn't we, Dave? The last week or so, and we've already had a new Patreon already. So
legend,
man. Now, Mr. Kent Gustavson is our first Patreon, guys. So if you want to, support us, get over to patreon.com/CD realitycast. And he's gone straight in, Dave, at number 1. He's gone straight to the top tier. It's really good of him. Really nice that he's done that. And because of him going in at the top, Dave, he's actually got our bonus episode, which we released exclusive for Patreons, hasn't he?
Our one top level Patreon is getting our one bonus episode for this month. But hopefully there'll be more to come in the future, and like you say, there are the different levels. So down to it's £3. So I think that was about $5. It probably if you're looking at it from the US, and then I think there's a bit more where we open up. We'll give you a shout out on the show. Add you in as an executive producer to the different episodes. But yeah, anything helps, and we're just hopefully, we'll grow the show and grow the Patreon a little bit, and just keep the lights on, and hopefully, particularly with the top level, give you some extra content that we wouldn't have done otherwise. And yeah, help us keep the lights on.
Exactly, and if you do think, get over there, guys. Like Dave said, it'd be really nice if you wanted to support us. We really appreciate it. And nothing's going to change on this show. It's just another way to keep us building and hopefully get better for you guys. So, Dave, we have got tomorrow coming. We have got the Temptation Island, which that's all about cheating. So that's whether it's realistic people where they want to kick the shit out of people when they see the boyfriend or girlfriend snogging someone else or jumping into bed or whatever. That is more my bag, I must admit. So we'll definitely be back with another episode this week, guys, 100%. And if you do like it and you want to support us or talk about anything you've seen today on The Bachelor or Temptation Island, at CD Realitycast social media. If you want to email us, cdrealitycast@gmail.com. So Dave, thank you today, mate. And I am actually going to go now and relive Claire and Dale's series because I think that's more realistic than what we've been watching with this pile of shit. And that is awful for me to say. Sorry, Tasha's series, sorry.
And I will say, I just spotted this morning, so Charlene had put up in our Facebook group, so the final Love Island USA Season 2 couple has split up. So we had Connor and Mackenzie, who were doing the sequel. Obviously they were in a couple on the show, and then they split up, and then after the show they got back together, and unfortunately distance is just too great for them. So again, Love Island continues its fairly tragic record of keeping couples together, apart from old Tommy Fury and what's her name, Molly May. They're still going strong, so it's not all doom and gloom.
They're still going. Just mostly doom and gloom. Right, mate. Well, I'll see you tomorrow.
Bye now.